Hello, my name is John Rose, and in this video I'd like to show how prisons and asylums are used to create an illusion that they're solving our problems in the same way our current medical system is used to create an illusion that they're solving our problems. And this will once again illustrate how we can use the 3 stages of knowledge. I just did a video recently on how to use the 3 stages of knowledge by pointing out pieces 2 and piece 18, which is also 54. But when it's 18, we're looking at the number 1 reason why we can't admit that we have piece number 2. Piece number 2 is false knowledge. Piece 18 is apathy. 18.1 is we're unwilling to admit that we have false knowledge. So that I was able to illustrate how we can use the 3 stages of knowledge in that video, and you can click here to go to that one. But in this video, I want to show how we can also use the 3 stages of knowledge. But this time, I want to show how we're being tricked and fooled into thinking that prisons and asylums are the answers and the current medical system we have are answers. And again, they're both illusions. They're 2 illusions that keep us in Plato's cave. And all they're doing is not allowing the negative C's to manifest. Now you can click here and go to the ultimate schematic, and I'll show you how we have 3 stages of knowledge, and what we're looking at is what we manifest. That's what we got. So if we don't like what we got, there's 2 approaches a sick system uses, and that's what's being done to us, is they put people in 106, the piece number 3, the dark side of our behavior, puts people, our so-called experts, in piece 106 to not allow the negative C's to manifest. They interfere with our body's communication process. I already talked about that. That's our current medical system. And this time I'm going to take a closer look at the piece before that. That's in 105. And it's in between the negative A box of false knowledge and the negative B box of mistakes, wrong actions. And what prisons and asylums do is they just don't allow people to act out on their impure thoughts. People have the false belief that it's okay to harm people. They don't have any ethics. Their belief system is horrible. So if they act out on that, they're going to do something bad. That would be piece 100 to someone else. 100 are things done to us, and that's how we get 104. Remember, 104 are problems outside of control, are not 100% within our control, and there's 2 ways that can happen. One is where we have limited control, and that's what we're talking about here. We have acts of war, crime, and violence. And then there's also times when we have no control whatsoever. Those are acts of war, or that's accidents and acts of nature. And those would be piece 100. So how do we keep piece 2, where we have a false belief we can do something bad to someone and not have any consequences, to commit a 100, that's a wrong action. So we have these 104s. Well, prisons and asylums are in 105 to not allow people to act out on their thoughts. So they don't go from a negative A to a negative B, they slide up 110. I showed before in the ultimate schematic, and you can click right here, where the fall of mankind is represented when we slid down the plus A to the negative B through 109. Now we can slide up from the negative A to the plus B. We can get people from acting out on their impure thoughts. They can't commit crime anymore. Now they got to come up where they can't get us down into a negative C box. But that's an illusion. That's only what we do to deal with what we got. Now, I'm not saying we can't still do that. We're going to have to do that until we deal with people's impure thoughts. But in the meantime, what we really need to do is get off this negative horizontal loop where we are ending up in the dark ages. We got to make a vertical move, a transformative move, and get some knowledge that we don't have, so we don't have impure thoughts and we don't get sick. That's the ultimate solution. It's an illusion to think that our current medical system has any answers. It's an illusion to think our prisons and asylums have the answers, because they're both only treating the symptoms. Don't you see? The symptoms, where are they at? They're the negative C's. That's the negative effects box. That's where problems are at. Remember, I like to classify problems simplistically and use ordered pairs or 2-valued logic to do so. That's where we have problems that are 100% within our control and problems that are not 100% within our control. Pieces 103 and 104, click here and you can go to the ultimate schematic and you can see where that's at. It's in the 3rd stage of knowledge. It's what we manifest. And we don't want to play magic. This is black magic, and we don't want to use magic against us and use chemicals against us or use force to keep people from doing things to us to not have a negative effect. What we have to do is realize that our actions have consequences. Our choices have consequences. We reap what we sow. And if people are doing bad things to us, maybe we do need to lock them up so they won't eat the wrong food, but it's all what they're eating. In fact, Barbara Reed Stitt did a very interesting analysis during her career, 20 years as a probation officer. She went through 5,000 offenders. And guess what she found out? Well, guess what she did? She kept track of what they ate. Why would you do that? Does having something to do with what we eat have anything to do with how we behave? Oh, duh, I think so. But anyway, she found that the ones that were eating junk, the sugar and the caffeine, all the garbage, they're the ones that kept having the bad behavior and they kept committing crimes, where the other ones that simply ate more fruits and vegetables behaved better. Now, why is it so hard for the average person to see the diet and connection, the diet and behavior connection? Why is it so hard to see the diet and disease connection? What's wrong with our medical people? Well, they're being used by the sickest of us to keep us sick. Remember, the people who rule the world are psychopaths. They're con artists. They're masters of illusion. They're magicians. They're masters of misdirection. And that's how they manage to keep us where we are. If you can get our experts to take the first step in the wrong direction, tell them that most of our illnesses are due to inappropriate signals. Forget cause and effect. We don't know the cause. There is no cause. Something's being done to us. It's a 100. It's not a 81 to 99, which has to do with our lifestyle choices. That's not the problem. No, don't look there. Don't let those negative effects occur. It's an inappropriate signal. Interfere with the body's communication process. Oh, it's okay to do that. You see, that's what most drugs do. There are blockers and inhibitors that interfere with the body's communication process. It's not complicated what they're doing, except it's like magic. Let's get a chemical that will either kill the keys, the hormones and the enzymes, or will block the locks, the receptors, and that's how our body communicates. It's a lock and key communication system. Hormones and enzymes go into receptor sites and tell the body what to do. Well, if you got something you shouldn't, it's not that you shouldn't have it, that you don't want, that's one way to keep from having it. But no one wants a negative effect, except it's there for a purpose. So we do want to have a signal if it's meant to be there. We don't want to interfere with that. That'd be the same thing as taking your car to a mechanic and saying, my engine light's hot, my engine light's on, could you fix it? Not a problem, come back in a couple hours. It may take me even longer, but I'll fix it. And all he does is clip the wire to the sending unit. All right, hell, I'll just remove the sending unit, and now it's an illusion. Look, the light doesn't come on. That's all. That's what drugs are doing to us, but they're poisons. The only other group of drugs they have that is in the same class would be the anti-whatevers, the antibiotics or whatever. We're going to kill something. They don't know how to build things up. They always knock things down. The only drugs that really are life-saving are when they use hormones from another animal. And that's not the same class as the three I just mentioned, where we have an anti-something of the others and blockers and inhibitors. And there are a few times when they can actually use those in operations because the heart's racing out of control, and they can give them a drug that can control the body. So there is a time and a place to put the cart before the horse. If the horse breaks its leg, you don't want it to keep running. You don't want it to bleed to death. So yeah, that's what doctors are good for. They control the body, and they don't allow the negative effect to happen. Well, we don't want you to die. Yeah, great. So you've got a purpose. You're good for the 104s. Things that are not 100% within our control. But guess what? The vast majority of our problems are 100% within our control. What's our problem? We lack the wisdom to know the difference. And that's by design. When you can control what people know, you can control what people do. And that's all you have to do to rule the masses. I've mentioned this before in other videos. There's a common link between solving every problem that's 100% within our control, conquering nations, and controlling the masses. And that common link has to do with satisfying our needs. It's really quite simple. How do you conquer a nation? You don't let them satisfy their needs. You enact an embargo. And that's an act of war. We do that all the time. That's the first act of war, when you enact an embargo on another country. But you don't let them satisfy their needs. That's how you destroy your enemy. How do you solve every problem that's 100% within our control? If it's within your control, it means it's what you're doing. Satisfy your needs. Do the right thing. Got to have the right knowledge for that. And then the last thing, how do you control the masses? Once again, it's the same principle. You don't let them satisfy their needs. You misdirect the so-called experts so they never have the right knowledge. That's an easy way to indirectly do it. If that doesn't work, we'll starve them out. They've done it before. Google Democide, recently the University of Hawaii discovered, by pushing the pencil to it, that there were 262 million people murdered during peacetime by the government because they were considered a threat to the powers that be because they knew what was going on. So there's too many of us now that know this. More and more people are waking up, but we don't really know what to do. All we seem to know what to do is to follow what controlled opposition wants us to do, and that is to just tell everybody what's happening. Don't ever focus on one thing. You see, to control the masses, it's not what we know that matters, it's what we do with what we know. That's why they always keep changing the subject. They don't say, in the Fed, and let's stick with it. Let's do it, and that's it. Instead, they'll have us worried about that for a couple months, and then they'll change it to something else so that we're being told something, so we think they're the experts, or that they're not controlled opposition, and then we'll be vulnerable to one little thing they're going to sneak in on us. Not only does controlled opposition not care what we know as much as what we do with what we know, but they'll tell us 1,000 things that are true just to get us to believe one lie that's crucial to them. And once you understand that, there's actually a test you can take, and you can say, okay, isn't that interesting? This guy's telling us a lot of good information, but every time he's on the air, he does something at least a dozen times or more, very subtly, and it seems like it's an appropriate thing to say, but that's just it. That trick's been used on us for a long time. Question everything. Your belief system is so far from where you think it should be, it isn't even funny. Even once you start waking up and you start realizing, oh my God, that was wrong, and that was wrong, and that was wrong, you've just begun. In fact, life is such an illusion on so many levels, it's mind-boggling. So, what do? It's simple. We're at a crucial time for our species. Never before has there been a time for a whole bunch of us to do something to get everyone else's attention. And we can reach the tipping point, and things will change so fast, it'll be amazing. The tricky part and the hard part, of course, is getting to the tipping point. It takes forever to reach critical mass, but once we get there, it's boom! And I've said this 1,000 times in my videos, and I got to emphasize it because things are never going to change unless we reach the tipping point. So you can click here, go to a seminar, so that you can get reconnected. This is the problem our species has, and if you've watched any of my videos, you've heard me talk about this over and over. We have become disconnected. The fall of mankind destroyed a nutrient that feeds one of our senses. We lost one of our senses. We are literally disconnected. That's why we suffer, and why we have a dark side to our behavior. It's why we pray systematically on our own kind. It's why we have the wrong mentality. We have an exchange mentality instead of a gift mentality. There's something wrong with us, and it all has to do with what we eat. So it's so hard to stop eating the wrong food because we still want to eat, and even if we're eating the best of foods, eventually you'll probably give in, more than likely. So the best way to control things that are controlling you is just to stop eating anything solid at all, which is what my first step is all about. So click here, go to a seminar I uploaded, if you already haven't done this. If not, then you already know the next step. You're on the hero's journey, keep doing it, keep going the way you're going. There's a lot of information to learn, so you can help other people. But you got to share the message. That's the most important thing you can do. More important than whatever to learn more about what's going on is to let people know that this knowledge exists. This is so important, and this could go viral so quick if just enough of us started sharing this. So share all of my videos with everybody you know. I haven't been pushing people to hit the like button and subscribe, but I've got a great message. And I think anybody who's watched my video understands that by now. And I'm not getting any hits because I've been in hiding for so long. I have no presence at all, so I need y'all's help. Do what you can to get this message out. A lot of y'all know what I'm saying is spot on. And the great thing about what I'm saying is you don't have to take my word for it, and I don't want you to. But I'd sure like you to test an idea as time has come. And guess what? When you do it, you're in for a treat.